okay, interpersonal well-being. And we're going to be looking at the behavioral approach to that and the Marxian theories, basically. And they're going to tell us, in order for a human being to be truly, fully happy, alive, these people are going to prescribe what's necessary in order for that to happen. So that's what that discussion was really about. So I cited the Amos passage, which I want you to remember, how in that society, how the wealthy landowners were oppressing the poor people in order to make and to get richer. The rich got richer and the poor got poorer during that time in Amos, which that's what Amos is writing about. This was a time when Israel, the northern kingdom, was filthy, super wealthy and powerful, and they trampled on the poor, which is very much reflecting our society today. The rich is getting richer and the poor is getting poorer. So the COVID is amassing billions and trillions of wealth for a certain population of people, and it is killing the poorer and other class of people. The drug companies are making trillions while people are losing their jobs. A country has changed, the world has changed, all of that. So the same kind of behavior we are seeing today. So I'll get this to move. Okay, right. Okay. So we talked about, I want you to see Jesus's utopia is that for us to have life, Jesus's goal is for us to have life and have it more abundant. And he kind of, to make that happen, he gave his blood. And he said, if you do this, you will be the happiest man on this planet. That's why he came. The social exchange theory starts with the assumption that humans are by nature self-interested creatures. By nature, we're going to look out for ourselves. We put self as number one. And therefore, any system has to take this into consideration and make plans in order to deal with this. The Marx theory begins with the assumption that humans are special, inherently social, and drawn to others, and inherently creative. What Marx is then going to say, look, this is the facts here, but we cannot allow people, a certain group of people, to exploit the others, to exploit the poor. For example, you may be working in a factory, laboring at minimum wage in order to create the iPhone, but you and your children cannot afford to benefit from the iPhone. You may be laboring in a factory to build Porsche, Mercedes-Benz, BMW, night and day at minimum wage, but you cannot afford to ride in a Mercedes. Marx is saying that that is inherently wrong and twisted, because a man should be able to enjoy the fruits of his own product. And so that's kind of where Marx philosophy comes in. And obviously that philosophy is going to run into trouble with the capitalists and those who have money. And hence that's why you have the war with Russia when, or even Cuba today. Cuban is being punished, severely punished, because they believe that everything that is on that small island should be shared by all citizens equally. And so the capitalist is saying that that can't happen, because in order for that to happen, you're going to have to take my abundance and spread it out to those people who do not have. So that's kind of where that philosophy is. And still today, it is a philosophy that is still being driven, but it's not, in essence, in big countries such as China and the United States, you know, the Marxian theory is problematic. Although China is described as a communist country, but that's not really the case. China is not a communist country in the true sense of the word, because the Communist Party own all the wealth in China, not the people. So that is sort of misgiving in terms of describing China as a Marxist community. China is pretty much like Wall Street in the United States. It's just a matter of who's got the money. In the United States, people like Bill Gates have the money. In China, the Communist Party have the money. So you have a group of people who have the money as opposed to one person have the money. But it is not the ordinary citizens, the average citizens, who share in that. So that's kind of where that interest is. Now, one of the issue would be, which one of these, let me give the others so that you understand. Because of these varying assumptions, their vision of utopia in social, let me move this up beside, in social relationships differs markedly. In other words, how do you make people happy? What is the goal? Their goals are so different.
Sir?
Yes, go ahead.
What is the meaning of utopia?
That's why I said goals. In other words, what you're trying to achieve, what makes the maximum benefit. That's what it means. It's talking about the goal, the benefit. Why are you doing what you do? You know, the maximum benefit. What Jesus said that I come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. That's the utopia of New Testament Christianity, for you to have life in its fullest.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So the social exchange theorist sees ultimate perfection in fairness and justice, and social inequality may exist, but only insofar as they are based on norms of reciprocal. You know what I mean by reciprocity, right? Reciprocal is the fact that we share. Okay? You give me your banana, I give you my mango. We share equally.
Yes.
And the principle of distributive justice. So what this is really saying, in essence, so long as Bill Gates do not rob your children from getting education and some of those privileges, it's okay. That's fair justice. In other words, Bill Gates is making his money honestly, and therefore that is justice. Okay, so that's what this is really talking about. There's nothing corrective in this. So for example, if the people who like in Jamaica, who may have bought up all the big hotels and everything, and it controls everything, maybe control the beach and all of that stuff. Technically, they didn't rob anybody to do it. They do it legally. It was fair. So long as they do it fair, it's okay. So that's what that point is arguing. And Jesus said, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." I think that's what we were there last time, okay? So when we talk about fairness and justice, right, can be achieved in a number of ways, which is not necessarily alter the objective. It doesn't, for example, if I came and I purchased a piece of property in Jamaica, and unless Jamaica has the law that says that the beach is public property, so I bought a piece of land next to a beach legally, and then I put some fence around my property. That is legal. However, you can't get to my property to get to the beach. So I haven't violated any laws, have I? It is all fair, isn't it?
Yes.
However, in the Constitution, it may say that the beach is public property. Then the problem becomes, how do I get to the beach? Unless I rent a boat and come around and come in and then swim and then get on the boat and then go back out and go around the other side. So when we talk about justice and fairness, we have to really look at whether or not it is in the best interest of all the people, or is just certain people using, the term in order to facilitate themselves. The Marxian theorists use ultimate perfection, inequality of income. In other words, they try to measure it based on the standard of living of all the people. In other words, you don't have a man live in a mansion and another man live in a piece of shack, but the man who lives in the shack is the one who is doing all the work in order to support the one who's living in the mansion. So exploitation, in their view, exploitation and alienation must be overcome if social relationships are to be fully be promised. Am I complicating you? Do you understand what the emphasis is? Is that, in other words, the social systems base their sense of right and wrong based on what? Justice and fairness. The Marxist system is looking at concepts such as exploitation and alienation. In other words, those are the bottom line.
Yes, sir.
For example, in England, where the Queen lives, she lives in a mansion, isn't it? Massive place, right?
Yes, sir.
And her children, grandchildren has been enjoying that benefit. The question is, who provided it? Who provided that style of living for her? It's the poor people in the Caribbean and other countries that has, to the arrowroot and the banana and the sugar, the plantations and all of that provided her that status and that power. The woman hasn't worked a day in her life. But where did she get all that wealth from?
She might not agree with what you say, sir.
Huh?
She might not agree with what you say because she thinks that she is working as a queen.
Okay, I got you. But can you imagine the exploitation and the alienation that has happened throughout the islands in order for them to live the way that they are now living?
Yes, sir.
So if you think of Haiti before the revolution, where all the wealth in Haiti went to France until Toussaint Willoughby, did his thing and the revolt, but he lost his life in the process, didn't he?
Yes, sir.
So that's what, so Marx is saying that a just society is a society where there is no exploitation, there is no alienation of people, that all the citizens have equal rights and privileges, and the government must see to it that there are no exploitation and no alienation. Now, I want you to think a little bit about what Jesus said. The truth will make you free, and the Son shall make you free. Free from what? What is this freedom attached to?
Alienation.
Yes, all of those things. In other words, you remember in the book of Acts, from verse 38 to the end of that chapter, you remember the Ethiopian, Utopia, I can't even pronounce the word. I have a problem with that. But anyways, the goal, the fullness, the happiness of all of these people, the goal was that there was not a single person who went to bed without food. Do you remember that?
No, sir.
In Acts, let's read it then. Let's turn to Acts chapter 2. And let's start reading from verse 38 to verse 47.
You are saying Acts chapter 2?
Yes, verse 38, and we're going to read all the way down to verse
because
47.
I thought you were talking about Acts 38.
No, Acts 2.
Starting from when?
From verse 38.
Oh, okay. Yes, sir, I know. Then Peter said to them, repent and let every one of you be baptized in the name of Jesus Christ for the remission of sins, and you shall receive the gift of the Holy Spirit. For the promise is to you and to your children and to all who are afar off, as many as the Lord our God will call. And with many other words he testified and exhorted them, saying, be saved from this perverse generation. Then those who gladly received his word were baptized, and that day about 3,000 souls were added to them. And they continued steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine and fellowship, in the breaking of the bread and in prayers. Then fear came upon every soul, and many wonders and signs were done through the apostles. Now all who believed were together and had all things in common, and sold their possessions and goods, and divided them among all, as anyone had need.
Okay, that's the phrase I want. You see what the community at the first century disciples, that very first, see what happened? It says there was not a single need there. See that?
Yes, sir.
What Marxian theory is precisely that. That in that community, there could be no exploitation. There could be no rich and the poor. You follow?
Yes,
because
sir.
they shared. People even sold their homes, sold their property. You remember in Acts chapter 5, where the man and his wife was killed? Remember why they were killed?
Yes,
Because
sir,
they
I
sold
remember.
some property. Remember, they sold the property and lied.
Yes, sir.
They kept back a portion of it. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So what this kind of theory, what I want you to see is that this theory isn't as bad as Western world has put it to be, that communism and Marxism is just so ungodly. The reason that the ungodly piece of it came in because the people who had the wealth was using the Bible to sustain the wealth. You follow? They were using the
Also,
Bible to sustain their wealth.
when they were like
Ex-
putting people to slave in slavery.
yes, they were using the Bible to sustain their wealth. So the Marxist theory is a revolutionary theory that says, in essence, this has to be stopped, and the only way you can stop it is to tear it down, destroy it. The Christians say, no, it will change if we just allow God and just follow through, and eventually we're all going to get there. You follow? So that was a Christian view. We can't do that. Let's just, over time, things will get better. But I ask you, what are the chances of Bill Gates' children will ever have to work?
I don't know.
They don't have to. They're set for
No.
life. What's the chances of your children have to work, or your grandchildren? I mean, when I say work, I mean someone wake up. When you close your eyes, when Bill Gates closed his eyes, he's left behind for his children billions.
Yes,
So if maybe if you wait another 10,000 years, maybe eventually your generation way down the road will get to that place where somehow God shake everything down and we all have equal. You follow?
yes, sir.
And something's gonna fall from the sky. It's not gonna fall from the sky.
Yes, sir.
So that's kind of where the theory really was intended to be. Where it is a different story, but what the intention behind it was noble, in my view. Intention was noble. The question is, did it accomplish the task? I don't think so, but the intention was good. Although people may deal with exploitative and alienating situation in a number of ways, only one way, direct attempt to do away with inequality, is regarded as effective. In other words, Marx is simply saying there's only one way to do this. We have to get rid of inequality. And how do we do this? Michael Manley in Jamaica in 1975 attempted to do that. He took away the wealth and distributed it among the poor. Americans owned the backside company in Jamaica. Jamaica now owned the backside company. They took it away and say it's the people's, okay? Belongs to Jamaica. So that was a time in Jamaica where rent were reduced and dark-skinned people were allowed to work in banks. In those days in 1975 in Jamaica, all the women who work in the banks were light-skinned, beautiful women. You didn't have an overweight, dark black woman in a bank. You're crazy. Never happened. When Michael Manley came, though, all that got changed. He said that this was wrong. We're discriminating against people by virtue of their color. And he changed all of that. So that poor people, kids had access to the university there in Jamaica. There was a revolution and Jamaica paid dearly for that. Because of course, America and places like that saw Jamaica as the enemy now. Because Jamaica was free to choose their friendships, whether it be with Cuba or Russia. Jamaica, Michael Mann said, look, you can't tell us who to be our friends. No, we're free. We're going to choose our own friends. Of course, England and places like that, start pushing their nose at stuff like that. But Jamaica survived. I don't know what the condition is in Jamaica now. Life may be still difficult because you're still going to have the rich, the super wealthy, and the super poor. But the problem is that the average child had an opportunity to education, and have at least a fighting chance of
Yes, sir.
breaking the chain of poverty. So that's kind of where that those philosophy kind of comes in to that. Any question?
Yes, sir. As we are looking at this in a biblical standpoint, so is it that if someone doesn't follow the Marxian theory, you might lose your salvation?
Well, what I'm saying is the principle that Marx was trying to advocate was a principle that's rooted in the Bible itself. He did not give the Bible credit. That's the point. That the Marxist system is a political system, an economic system. And Marx is saying the salvation to humanity is through an economic pathway. Jesus is simply saying that the salvation of humanity is through a spiritual pathway. That you not only cater for his pocketbook, but you have to cater for his soul as well. That's where Marx theory failed, because Marx theory went as far as denying Christianity, because they felt that they had to in order to break the cycle. However, Marxist theory is the happiest man is the man who has enough money to feed himself and to feed his children. Jesus is saying that the happiest man is the man whose soul has been catered for. So that's the difference in the two. It's what are you targeting? Marx is targeting your ability to have enough resources to feed and to shelter and to clothe yourself. In Christianity, though, the target is not on the material side. The target is on catering for the soul.
Yes, sir.
So you see the difference?
Yes, sir, I do. It's 10 minutes now, sir, before the time.
Oh, wow, we're gone already.
Yes, sir, our time is up.
Okay, time is up. Okay. Well, so I took a note, so now I know where I am on this thing, this material. So
All
I wrote
right,
that.
sir. But would you please send us this material?
Yes.
All right, sir. I think I've sent you several emails. You should have mine.
Okay, I probably when you put an email, you have to tell me the class so I know, so I don't send the wrong material. Okay, give me all the information in the thing.
All right, sir. I will contact you on WhatsApp, sir.
No problem.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. How do I get? Okay, stop sharing. Okay. How many people were present today?
Of us.
3, 2.
Yes, sir.
And who is missing?
I think Brother Ian McIntosh is missing.
Ian is missing.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's the only one that's missing, right?
Yes, sir. I think so.
Okay, no problem. All right, bye-bye. Take care.
Yes, sir. You too.